but I'll just give a very, very brief introduction about him, and then we will request him to start the class. So Caitanya Charan Prabhu, he's a monk, he's a mentor, he's a spiritual author. By background, he has electronics and telecommunications engineering from the Government College of Engineering in Pune. He served as a software engineer in prominent multinational software corporations. He's secured a very, very high score in the GRE, gaining some of the top ranks in Maharashtra. At some point, he was seeing just the problems faced in society: stress, depression, addiction, misdirection, lack of spirituality. All of this, because of this, he inspired to dedicate his life to the cause of sharing spiritual wisdom of Bhagavad-gita under the guidance of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So now he travels all over the world, from Australia to America, gives talks on various spiritual subjects in temples, in corporations, and in universities, in prestigious universities such as Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, Cambridge, and big companies such as Intel, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. He's also a very prolific writer. He's written many different books, and every day there's a wonderful blog he publishes on Daily Gita, on a verse from Bhagavad-gita. He's written over 1,700 such Gita meditations. He answers questions on his site. His articles have been published in all kinds of different newspapers, in Economic Times, Times of India, and so forth. And his writings have also been translated into many different languages. He's also a member of the ISKCON Shastric Advisory Council, and as the Associate Director of our Global Back to Godhead magazine. And as I said, he's a prolific writer. He's written over 25 books, which you may have already seen. So with that, I'd request His Grace Caitanya Charan Prabhu to just share some katha and topics with us today. Thank you again, Caitanya Charan Prabhu, for taking this. By the way, he's currently, I think, in Mumbai. Are you in Mumbai, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, he's in Mumbai, where it's currently just a little bit past 3:30 in the morning. So we're very grateful that he's taken this very early time in the morning to be with us today. Thank you very much, Caitanya Charan.
Happy to be with you. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, great to be with all of you today. And today, I'll speak based on the Bhagavad-gita, verses 58 to 62, where Krishna talks about how he works in the world and how he works. So, okay. Is it better now? I got the message audible. Is it audible or not audible?
It's difficult to hear you.
It's being packetized. It seems like the audio is broken up. Maybe it's a connection or maybe the microphone. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it sounds like packetized.
That's strange. I had a class
This is
for
good.
Columbus, Ohio. Is it better now?
This is good now. It stopped doing that issue. So let's try.
Okay. Okay, fine. So from 1858 to 1862, I said Krishna talked about how he acts in the world, how the world works, and how Krishna works in the world. Oh, okay. That is strange.
Is there an alternate microphone, like without the microphone on the computer itself?
I don't know whether it is a mic.
It could be the mic or the connection, the internet quality.
It's not okay right now? Hare Krishna?
This is good. I can hear you. Yeah, this is good.
Okay.
But let's see, after, like when you say a full sentence, sometimes then it might get chopped up. So it's hard to tell.
Okay, if I have another option that I have another internet on my phone. This is a Wi-Fi on my laptop, but I can connect on the phone if required. Is it okay now, or is it still problematic?
This sounds good, actually.
Okay, if at any time it goes down, let me know. Then I'll change over.
Yeah.
Give me a minute. Should I change right now, or right now it's okay?
It seems okay right now.
Yeah, it's okay, but maybe when you start speaking, it might. So we'll see.
I'm looking at the comments. If it changes, let me know. Okay.
Would you mind repeating whatever you said before, probably?
Okay, so right now, I have, I'm speaking from the phone. Is this better? Can you hear me from the phone? I'm now speaking on the phone also. Is this better from the phone? Or not much better?
If you keep talking, maybe we can figure out how good it is.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay. So I was talking about, I said I'll speak from 1858 to 1852, where I'll speak on how the world, Krishna explains how the world works and how we can work in the world, or how God works in the world. So for everyone, at some time or the other, situation comes where our normal map for functioning doesn't work so well. So we all have some kind of mental map of life with which we function. So that means, okay, this, if this happens, this is what I'll do. This is the way I want to go. This is the map shows us the way. So we also have a kind of map inside us, which is our guide for how to function. But we all face a time when that map doesn't show us any way ahead. So at that time, when we face a block, say for example, when Arjuna was at the start of the Bhagavad-gita, he faced a block because at one level Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and as a Kshatriya, there was a standard, we could use the word career chart for a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya trains in war, in arms, becomes a powerful warrior, and fights virtuous, righteous wars, and then attains victory in this world, or sometimes he dies, then he attains victory, attains heaven in the next world. But Arjuna at the start of the Bhagavad-gita says that Nahi prapashyami mama panudhyadya chokamucho shanamindriyana avapya bhuma vasaptanam raddham rajyam suranam apichadipatyam. He says that that this whole, both this trajectory, that either attaining an unrivaled kingdom in this world if I win, or attaining the heavens if I die, neither of these is going to remove the grief that is consuming me, that is drying up my senses and my entire being. So basically what happens for Arjuna is that his map just shows a dead end. So what did we do at that time? And generally, whenever we face any crisis in life, the crisis is not just a physical or external or a practical crisis. Yes, of course, that is there, but it is usually how seriously the crisis is felt as a crisis depends on our inner maps. And within the inner map, if we feel the complete block, then we end up not being able to do anything at all. So there are times when we need to recalibrate or reconceptualize our inner maps so that we can focus on our outward journey, so that we can move forward in life. Now, what does our map consist of basically? If we consider a normal map, the normal map basically has a few things. It shows us the path, it shows us the destination, and it shows us our location. Now, of course, it also shows the territory around us, which is what enables us to make a sense of where we want to go. So basically, we could repeat our location, our territory, the path, and the destination. If these are seen, then we can move forward. But if all that we see is just a big wall and no way to move anywhere, then we feel blocked. So we all have our own maps with which we function in life. So in that map, our location, our destination, our path, our surroundings, all these we place. Say for example, if somebody is a student, say somebody has just gained admission in the first year of engineering college, then for them, they have this map. Okay, now the next 4 years, this is the way I'm supposed to go. And after I complete this, then I'll get a job. And right now I'm in this college, and this is the subject I need to study. And these are the other students with whom I'll let you get along as is required. So basically, this is now we may not even think of or notice this map, but it is, say for example, some student registers for in engineering college for getting engineering degree, and then they've studied maybe it's a 4-year degree, and they've studied for 2 years, and after that they understand, hey, they come to know that engineering college is not a government authorized college. That means the degree that they're going to get from it is not going to be a valid degree, and that degree won't help them to get any job. What did I do over here? Why did I get over here? What am I getting by studying for these 2 years? So then there's disorientation. I thought this map was reliable, but it's not so much just this career is not working, but it is also that actually this whole direction which I have taken in my life, maybe this is not working. So that's what happened to Arjuna. What am I to do? And then the Bhagavad-gita offers Arjuna a different map. So let's look at what is the map that Krishna offers to Arjuna through the Bhagavad-gita. And Krishna says, so I'll talk from 1858 to 62. So 1858 is a well-known verse in the Bhagavad-gita. Machitta sarvadurgani matprasadat parishyasi atachet tamahankara nashosyasi vinangshasi. He says, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all obstacles by my grace. If, however, you are not conscious of me, then you will be lost. So basically, Krishna is telling here two things over here. First is that you become conscious of me, and then if obstacles come, he's not saying no, obstacles won't come, but you will pass over them. If you don't become conscious of me, the obstacle is such that you will be blocked, you will be lost. And then he goes through a trajectory. So 1858, what is spoken, 1858 has two parts. One is basically two choices. If you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. So if you become conscious of me, or if you don't become conscious of me. So if you don't become conscious of me, that is explained in 1859 and 60. And if you become conscious of me, what will happen is explained in 1861 and 62. So 1859 and 60, Krishna says that he says two things. He talks about material nature. So basically, in material existence, there are three basic realities. In existence, there are three basic realities. In the Upanishad, this is called as Tattvatraya, the three truths of existence. That is Jiva, Jagat, and Jagdish. The soul, the world, or material nature, and the Lord. So these three truths exist. And now among these three truths, when we function, Krishna is saying that if you don't become conscious of me, if you don't become conscious of me, then you will be controlled by material nature. And you will be driven by material nature. Swabhavajena kaunteya nibaddhasvena karmana kartum nechasi yanmohat karishyasya vashopi. So he says, Swabhavajena kaunteya. All living beings are bound by their swabhava, by their particular nature. Nibaddhasvena karmana. According to one's nature, everyone has to act. Kartum nechasi yanmohat. You think that, I know I will not act this way. Karishyasya vashopi. And says you will be forced to act that way. He says material nature has such power that you will not be able to resist it. You will be forced to act the way material nature wants you to act. Now, what does it mean in the context of the Gita? It means that Arjuna, at the start of the Bhagavad-gita, when he found that the Kshatriya trajectory of life didn't make any sense to him, he thought that maybe I should act like a Brahmana. And what is acting like a Brahmana? Let me forgive. Let me forgive the Kauravas of all the wrongs that they have done. And let me not seek a kingdom at all. Let me just live like a mendicant in a forest. So Krishna tells Arjuna that you are by nature a Kshatriya and you will not be able to live the way you are saying right now. You will not. You have the nature of a Kshatriya, and if you try to act like a Brahmana, that will be separation which will not continue. So now, when you talk about the Kshatriya nature or Brahmana nature, this is basically the four Varnas are basically the systems of classification to understand ourselves. Now we might talk about this in different terms in today's language. We might talk about some people are introverts, some people are extroverts. If some people come to get together, now I know some people who are introverts, and say if an introvert is told that you have we want to have a lockdown. Oh, that's wonderful. They love to be by themselves. Not that they hate people, but they love to be by themselves. For somebody who's an extrovert, they have to be alone. They feel it's like torture. They feel for them being with people is like their oxygen. And if they don't have it, they feel immensely restless. For some people, being with people constantly is like suffocation. This woman, I need my space. I need to be alone. So these are basic natures. And yes, it's not that extroverts can't be alone, or it's not that introverts can't be with people. But there is a natural location of comfort for people. And that is just the way the body and mind are. So that can't be altered. So understanding this, that basically there is a particular nature we all have that we can't change that. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you cannot change. It's not just our nature that we can't change, but even material nature at large has its own way of functioning. And that can't be changed. So then what is the way ahead? So Krishna talks about in 5960 that if you don't become conscious of me, you will be controlled by nature. Then what is the solution? In 1861-62 he tells that. 1861 is another well-known verse. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati ramayan sarvabhutani yantra dhurani mayaya. He says, yes, this body is a machine of material nature and we are all controlled by this body. Or rather, we are situated in this body. However, this body is, within the body is present the Ishvara. Within all bodies is the Supreme Lord, who is the controller of all living beings. And then what should you do therefore? If you become conscious the Lord is guiding, Lord is within material nature and is guiding material nature, then what should you do? Act according to his plan. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsisi shashvatam. Tameva sharanam gaccha. Surrender to him, and if you surrender to him, tat prasadat param shantim. By surrendering to him, you get supreme peace. And sthanam prapsisi shashvatam. You'll also attain a lasting destination, an enduring destination. So the two things which Arjuna was seeking, Arjuna was thinking that if I fight this war, I won't get peace. Because war itself is no peace. But on the other hand, if I don't fight, then I won't get the territory. I don't want to get the place. So basically, Arjuna had to make a choice between peace and place. Place, not just place means a kingdom. So peace or place. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that if you surrender to the super soul in the heart, then you will get both peace and place. So what does this mean? Now we are, one way to understand this is, we are bound by our nature, but we are not bound to our nature. We are bound by our nature means that we live in a particular kind of body, we live in a particular kind of environment, and that restricts us. So we are bound by it. So suppose somebody is bound by ropes. Now they are bound by ropes, but they are not bound to a pole, say. So the rope restricts their movements. They can't move their hands and legs freely. But they are not necessarily tied to a rope. So with that bondage itself, they can keep moving. So they are bound by a rope, but they are not bound to a pole. So like that, we are all bound by our nature, by our physical nature, by the kind of society we are in, by the kind of environment we are in. By nature, we refer to three things here. There's Adhyatmik, there's Adibhautik, and Adidaivik. We have a particular kind of body and we are bound by that. We live in a particular kind of society and there are certain things which are acceptable, certain things which are unacceptable in that society. We live in a particular kind of environment. Some places are freezing cold and we just can't step out without warm clothes over there. Some places are so hot that we can't step out at noon without getting scorched. So we are all bound by our nature. But we are not bound to our nature. Yes, even if say it's hot, we can't go out just like that. But we can make some adjustments, and then we can go out. We might have have some air conditioning, or we might make some arrangement to mitigate the heat or the cold, and then move on. So that means there is certain restriction, and within that restriction, there are some options for us. So basically, restriction and option, and that is the essence of how we function in life within the world. Some restriction, some options. So this dynamism of how we need to submit, and at the same time we need to persevere. That is illustrated in the Mahabharata. In a very intriguing incident. In the Mahabharata, the war happens for 18 days. Within those 18 days, the first 10 days, Bhishma is the commander. The next 5 days, Drona is the commander. And after Drona's commandership ends, at that time, it happens that Drona falls on the 15th day. He's killed by Drishtadyumna. And at that time, Ashwatthama is not there in the battlefield. Ashwatthama had earlier been wounded and he had gone to rest. So that's why Drona does not see Ashwatthama on the battlefield and he thinks that he is dead. And he puts down his bow, not willing to fight. But after the fall of Drona, the Kaurav forces panic. And even Duryodhana and all the other soldiers, they flee from the war field in horror and panic on seeing the fall of Drona. So at that time, so this is the war field that is on the battle is happening over here. They turn and flee, and at that time they see Ashwatthama coming from the other side. Ashwatthama asks, "What's happening?" And then Duryodhana is so aghast that he can't even speak anything. He turns towards Kripa and he says, "Oh, teacher, please say what has happened." And Kripacharya says to Ashwatthama, "Oh son, oh child, the Pandavas played a dirty trick and they misled your father by saying that you have been killed, and he laid down his weapons, and then the Drishtadyumna fell upon him, and while Drona was in a trance, was meditating, his head was lopped off by the Drishtadyumna." And hearing this, Ashwatthama becomes enraged. First he's shocked, but as the brutality with which Drona has been killed sinks into him, now he becomes enraged. Now the Pandavas' plan had been not to kill Drona, but to arrest Drona. So when he was informed that Ashwatthama is dead, he put down his bow and he sat down to meditate. And he had been told at that time by the sages who appeared in the sky, he says, "You have been fighting unfairly." Drona had become agitated because none of his plans had been working to curb the Pandavas. And then Duryodhana had been goading him on the other side. "You're partial to the Pandavas, that's why you're not fighting wholeheartedly." So he had got angry and he had started using celestial weapons against ordinary warriors. And that was a serious violation of war codes. So it is like say, using a weapon of mass destruction against ordinary people, against ordinary soldiers. Somebody uses nuclear weapons or somebody does bioterrorism, something like that. So it was outrageous, and the sages told him. Sages appeared in the sky. They told him, "Oh, Drona, you're acting unrighteously. Stop this unrighteous action." So both because of what the sages said and because of what he was told that Ashwatthama is dead, he put down his bow. So at that time, Arjuna's plan was that they will swoop down upon Drona and arrest him and keep him in house arrest till the war gets over. But before they could do this, Drishtadyumna swooped down over there, and although Arjuna and others told him stop, but he, in a moment of rage and mania, he just attacked Drona and lopped off his head. So that was something which was atrocious. In fact, Arjuna felt so angry that Arjuna wanted to attack Drishtadyumna. And Drishtadyumna also felt angry, and Drishtadyumna came back to attack Arjuna. So Bhima and Krishna had to intervene to stop both of them from doing anything further. So the point was, certainly something terrible had happened, and Ashwatthama got so angry that he charged on the battlefield. He said, "How dare these Pandavas do something so atrocious?" He said that they have betrayed their own teacher and they should be punished. And so therefore, I will use my best weapons. My father has given me weapons the way he had told me to not use except in extreme provocation. Now such is the time for using this weapon. And he came forward. He said, I will lead all of you. And then he charged forward. And as he came on the battlefield, he released what is called as the Narayanastra. Now the Narayanastra was so powerful that it just could not be countered. In fact, this weapon had the characteristic that the more it was countered, the stronger it would become. So as soon as Ashwatthama discharged the weapon, it started coming like a consuming, blazing light across the battlefield. So Yudhishthira saw how none of the Pandavas' weapons were working to counter it. And Yudhishthira started panicking. He said, alas, oh, we have committed the grievous wrong of killing our teacher, and that's why we are all doomed now. Oh warriors, oh soldiers, he started calling out. He said, no, lay down your weapons and flee from this war field. I give up my attempt to win the throne. So as Yudhishthira was about to speak like this, Krishna came urgently up to him. He said, stop, stop. And Krishna rose on his chariot and he said, this is the Narayanastra. This cannot be countered. There's only one solution. Is all of you put aside your weapons and lie down on the ground in offering respects to the Narayanastra. And when they lay down, the Narayanastra just kept whizzing above them. And Krishna told them that if it doesn't find any target, then it will disappear on its own. So now all the warriors did what Krishna was telling, except one warrior, and that was Bhima. So Bhima refused to go down. And then Bhima became the sole target for this Narayanastra. And Arjuna Bhima fought and fought, but even he was no match for the Narayanastra. And then his whole body started burning because of the heavy assault of the Narayanastra. So at that time, Krishna and Arjuna both called out to Bhima, he said, lie down. And Bhima said, all of you cowards, if you think you can't fight, I will fight alone. I will never be a coward and put down my weapons. So at that time, Arjuna and Krishna realized that Bhima would be burned alive by this. So Arjuna used Parjanyastra, water-producing weapon, and that suddenly showered all water on Arjuna, on Bhima rather, and that gives Bhima some temporary relief. And Arjuna and Krishna both dashed toward Bhima while bending down low, and they dashed and they caught Bhima's weapons and dragged Bhima down. Bhima was reluctant and angry. And Arjuna told Bhima that if this weapon could have been resisted, I would have been the first person to resist it. He says, we can't. Just pull down. Then Bhima reluctantly came down, and then the weapon just whizzed, and not finding any target, it disappeared. So on the other side, the Kauravas saw, after the weapon disappeared, the Kauravas saw that, oh, there's no one here. And it seemed that everybody had been reduced to corpses. And seeing the Kaurava, Pandava entire army being reduced to a set of motionless bodies lying on the ground, they thought that, oh, we have won, and they started celebrating. But before their celebration could attain any pitch, all the Pandava warriors got up. And the Kauravas were shocked. Ashwatthama especially was aghast. And then Ashwatthama said, Krishna is very tricky. He knew that the Narayana couldn't be countered, so he submitted to it. So Arjuna, Duryodhana told Arjuna, to Ashwatthama, that destroy that weapon again, and this time you destroy them. Destroy them before they can bend down. He said, no, I could use this weapon only once. I can use this weapon only once. So what happened over here was that the Narayanastra's force was so great that even the Pandavas couldn't counter it, although they were powerful warriors. So they had to submit at that time. So they submitted in practice, but that did not mean that they gave up their intention to fight. So that kind of resourcefulness and flexibility is required, that sometimes material nature force is so great that at that time what we can do is limited. So I talked about how we all have certain limitations and certain options. Sometimes the limitations are too many and the options are too few. So if our map is such that we can't function with the limitation at all. If I can't do this, I can't do anything at all. So some people say equate practicing bhakti with going to the temple. Physically going to the temple to take darshan. Now that's an important part of bhakti. And we should go to the temple whenever we can. But if that is the only map in their minds, then if you can't go to the temple, then what do? You can't practice bhakti. So currently now it's Easter in America. So many people, Easter is an important festival. So some Christians, we want to go to the churches. And the governments are saying, no, you cannot go at this time. There's too much danger. No, we want to go. So then some churches are adjusting. You can have some drive-in kind of mass in the church. So they're making some adjustments. So there is some restriction and there are some options. But if we don't recognize that the level of restriction can change, sometimes the restrictions are less, the options are more. Sometimes the restrictions are more and the options are less. But the options are always open for us. The restrictions and limitations, they can be sometimes so many that if our map is not adjusted accordingly, then we may feel there's no option left for me. There are options, but we need to adjust our map. So Krishna tells Arjuna that you are a Kshatriya, and that is a limitation that you can't change. But within that, you have a Kshatriya nature. But you don't have to be a Kshatriya like Duryodhana, who is using his power to abuse others, to violate others. Use your power to protect others. So you have martial nature, you can't give it up. So there is this principle that whenever we are put in a situation where there is a certain amount of limitation for us. So how does material nature work? Material nature works by placing us under different levels of limitations. Each of us has our own limitations. In fact, to be a being, be a conditioned being in the material world means to have limitations. And we can't avoid limitedness. We can't. That comes with limitations. Come with our limitedness, our being a finite being. So, but sometimes those limitations are very evident. Sometimes they're not so evident. So the Bhagavad-gita says that our growth, how does it happen? Krishna tells Arjuna, yes, there is material nature which is not in your control, but the material nature is under the control of Krishna. Ishvara Sarvabhutana. And strive to serve the Supreme within the limitation that material nature is imposed on you. So a Kshatriya cannot act like a Brahmana, but a Kshatriya can be a devoted Kshatriya. A Kshatriya can be a spiritual Kshatriya. Similarly, we don't work for our nature, we don't work against our nature. We work with our nature. So work for our nature means that okay, say for example, somebody thinks that okay, if I can't go to the temple, then I will not practice any bhakti. What can I do? I can't practice it. That means we let nature completely control what we are doing. We work against our nature means no, whatever it said, I am going to do what I feel is the right thing. no matter what the cost. That can backfire. We may, if we still go out and we still go to temples and congregate, we might get infected, might infect others. So we don't work for nature, we don't work against nature, we work with nature. Work with means our purpose is to serve the Lord, and we find within the restriction imposed by nature how to create options to do what we can. So bhakti has both an external aspect and an internal aspect to it. Quite often we need to do the external to the internal. That means, say we need to actually feel spiritually conscious. It is extremely helpful and important to go to a temple. Because when we go to a temple, that's the time when we feel inspired, when we feel enlivened, when there are external spiritual manifestations that helps us to spiritualize our consciousness internally. But sometimes the external is not possible. So still the internal remains possible. So now the map, I said, what is the map? A map needs to have different things. There's a destination, there's a location, there is a path, and there are the surroundings. So we usually have some kind of functional map. Okay, I'm in this job, I'm in this career, I'm doing this studies, and this is what I'm meant to do. And these functional maps serve us in the normal situations. And sometimes you might have a functional map about how to practice bhakti also. Okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. But when those functional maps don't work, then we need a more foundational map. The foundational map is that we are all souls and we are on a multi-life journey of spiritual evolution toward the whole, toward Krishna. And the material world is a place where there are distractions, temptations, limitations. But here also, the path ahead is through service attitude. If we just have an attitude of serving Krishna, Krishna will give us the way to move ahead. Sometimes it might be an easy way, sometimes it might be a difficult way, but we will find the way to move ahead. So these fundamental or foundational truths, sometimes they may get obscured when we are caught in the immediate situations and are caught in immediate actions. But these fundamental truths are what are vital for us to know. So the Bhagavad-gita reminds Krishna of this truth that we are within material nature. We are to some extent, we are bound by our nature, but we are not bound to our nature. Within the limitations imposed by nature, we have options. And if we focus on those options, rather than focusing on what all we can't do, we can focus on what all can we do. And once we start focusing on those things, find, okay, maybe I can do this, maybe I can use this time to do some devotional activity I long wanted to do but couldn't do. I can use it to study Shastra, I can use it to chant extra, I can use it to hear some classes, to go deep into a particular process of sadhana. So we can plan it out, and then within the restrictions, the material nature can impose restrictions on what all we can do at the material level. But it doesn't impose restrictions on what all connections we can establish at the spiritual level. So we focus on those spiritual connections, we all can move forward. And we can not only stay connected with Krishna, but we can strengthen our connection with Krishna. And that's how Sthanam Prapsa Shashvatam. Krishna tells Arjuna, your search for peace and your search for place, which seem mutually exclusive to you. If you don't fight, you get peace, but then you don't get place. If you fight, you get place, you may get place, but you won't get peace. Both of them can be reconciled with basic consciousness of spiritual life. You will attain the eternal abode, and in the connection with Supreme Lord, you will attain the eternal peace also. So similarly for all of us, if we strive to stay connected with Krishna, the supreme auspiciousness will come upon us, no matter what limitations the world and the world's nature may impose upon us. So I'll summarize. I spoke today on the topic of how the material nature works and how Krishna works with material nature, and how we can use that to function in today's world. So So I started by I basically forgot 1858 to 62. So Krishna's there's two trajectories in 59-60. If you become conscious, if you don't become conscious of me, you will be lost. If you become conscious of me, you will be elevated and liberated. So I talk about how we all have certain maps with which we function, and sometimes sometimes the map itself doesn't show us the way ahead. So there can be physical obstacles, but the physical obstacles overwhelm us to the extent that our mind can't conceptualize a way ahead through those obstacles. So then sometimes we need to recalibrate or reconceptualize our map. So Arjuna had the Kshatriya map, which is either prosperity in this world or heavens in the next world. But he felt that map was pointless. Krishna gave him a bigger map. Actually, you are a soul meant to attain me ultimately, and you can keep serving me no matter how difficult the situation might be. Then I talked about how we are all within material nature in various ways, and we are restricted by that. But we are not completely restricted. We are bound to our nature, but we are not bound by our nature. It's like a person is bound. Sorry, we are bound by our nature, but we are not bound to our nature. It's like somebody is bound by ropes, but they are not bound to a particular place. Within the limitation that the ropes impose, they can still move. So essentially, life imposes certain restrictions upon us and gives us certain options. But if our map shows us that this restriction should not be there, then I can move forward. And we will feel I can't move forward. And when the Narayana Astra was hurled on the Pandavas, one who never bows down, stays aloft and fights against any weapons. Now with that map, he just couldn't fight. And Krishna and Arjuna pulled him down. You cannot do this with him. Just because you're bowing down for a few moments does not mean that you're accepting defeat. You have to do this. So although that restriction was there, that limitation was there, he had to bow down. But within that, there were options. They bowed down and they rose again and they fought. And then they won after that. So similarly for us, external situations may create limitations. And if our maps conceptualize that, oh, if I can't do this, then what can I do? I can't do anything. No. If we feel I can't do anything, then we need to, if we can't change the situation, then we need to change the map that we have of that situation. So we all have various functional maps about how to act in the world and even how to practice bhakti in the world. But when those functional maps don't show us the way ahead, we need to get down to the fundamental, the foundational map. The foundational map is that we are soul and we are on a multi-life journey of spiritual evolution. Our destination is Krishna. And we are in this world which is a place of limitedness. So as a soul, if we maintain an attitude of service to Krishna, Krishna, how can I serve you in this situation? Maintain that prayerful attitude. Krishna will guide us to find some way within those options by which we can move forward. And we can not only stay connected with him, but strengthen our connection with him and emerge stronger. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So are there any questions or comments? I can see one question here. What is best for spiritual advancement? Is it to be shy or to be communicative? Well, I use the word introvert and extrovert. Introvert people are not necessarily shy, and extrovert people are not necessarily always good communicators. Extrovert people might also ramble quite a bit. And introvert people, when they speak, they can be quite articulate also. So it's not that one kind of nature is what is good for spiritual life and another is not. See, spiritual life can be practiced by everyone, whatever be their nature. However, if we have a service attitude means that whatever is required for us, we try to do that. So in many ways, if we want to especially share Krishna consciousness, we can't be too reticent. We need to be able to talk with people. So we try to develop that as much as we can. And over a period of time, we will find that how best we can serve. So some devotees may find that, okay, giving classes is not what I'm comfortable at. At a one-to-one level, I can talk with people. Or some people may feel, yes, I can give you classes, but I don't feel comfortable speaking to entirely at a sustainable level, at a sustainable level, sustainably. Does that answer your question? Are there any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Thank you for nicely explaining everything. Firstly, I'll request anyone with a question to turn your camera on and unmute yourself and ask very directly, so that Prabhuji we can all see you and understand the question nicely. Prabhuji, I have a kind of generic question. The concept of a map and a road map, and sometimes getting obstacles on the road map and trying to find the best route around that seems very logical and practical. But sometimes on a map, there are just many different options, right? Many different options. They all seem equivalent to get to our destination. It's very difficult to pick the right option for us, right? So is there any guidance for how do we determine the best route for us to go forward?
Yeah. If multiple options seem more or less similar to us, then how do we decide? In general, for all of us, we have certain resources. We have our intelligence, that is our capacity to analyze and process. Then we have our experience. Now, intelligence can be nourished by scripture. Our experience can be processed through scripture, so that we learn from our past experiences. And similarly, we have the intelligence and experience of those around us. So, based on that, based on our own inner contemplation and our discussion with others, where we take in our intelligence and experience, we take in others' intelligence and experience, we can arrive at a reasonable set of criteria. Based on which we can take a decision. So it is that life never comes with a guarantee of right decisions. It is that even Srila Prabhupada, he was purely devoted to the Lord, and even then he tried various things, and some things worked, some things didn't work. He tried starting the League of Devotees in India, and he worked very hard. He, metaphorically speaking, put all his eggs in that basket, but then circumstances crushed that basket, and he had to leave empty-handed from Jhansi, which he had hoped would be the international headquarters. But then when he came to America, and he was told that many of his people who were interested, they said, come to the Lower East Side, come to a place where hippies are living. Now, many of the other people who were mostly of his age and who were living in more prosperous, they said, you cannot go there, Swamiji. Prabhupada said, no, this is where people are interested, I'll go there. And then that move worked very well. So life doesn't come with any guarantee of right decisions. Even if our intention is completely pure, still that doesn't mean practically every single thing that we do will necessarily be right in terms of it always producing the desired result. So if we have a set of criteria or set of parameters about how we are about for decision making, not just okay, this is what I'm going to do, but also for evaluating the decision. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his books says that knowledge doesn't have to start afresh. He says it is not that we have to reject what the past has taught us to learn something new. If you find that something that we have learned from the past is not right, say if we are going to go in this direction, but we have gone in this direction, then we don't have to retrace our steps and go back to the first step to go in this direction. From where we have gone, we can go in this direction. So basically, if we have a set of criteria of okay, if we are going to make this decision, then what is the expected result of this decision? okay, this should A, B, C, D, E, these things should be happening. These things should be growing for us. So that means sometimes when two paths look equal, we might choose one path and move forward. But when we are moving forward in that path, if we have a compass, then we have covered this much distance in this much time. We initially might think this path is clear, but then we find there's a big traffic, heavy traffic on that path. Okay, now I can't take this path, or I'll stay stuck over there. We might cross over and go to another path. So practically speaking, of course, changing paths is not that easy. But the point which I'm making is that if we can use our intelligence and our experience and others' intelligence and experience to have a reasonable set of criteria for evaluating, for deciding and evaluating, then they will become like our guiding compass. And we might choose a particular path, but it will not be that we will be irrationally fixated on that path. If sometimes the path is just a block, it's a blockage, we will be ready to change over. But at the same time, if we have the criteria clear, sometimes every path will have some blockages. So we'll be able to persevere in spite of that. Okay, this is not working, but let's persevere. So we could say Prabhupada's example was that he was fixed in purpose and flexible in process. His purpose was to share Krishna Bhakti all over the world. Fixed in purpose, but flexible in process. What should I do? Should he be in Vrindavan and write book? Should he come to Delhi and try to distribute it back to Godhead? Should he go to New York? Should he go there? Flexible about that. So that way, we can make decisions as much as is possible. So if we have criteria, then that will give us a sense of compass, and then we can choose the right path as per our current understanding. And if that path doesn't turn out to be right, then we can do some course correction if required, based on those parameters that we have arrived at.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Are there any other questions?
Everyone's very quiet.
Thank you. So,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavats. Not a question, just a comment. Feel really refreshed and energized after this class. So thank you very much. And thank you for getting up so early to talk to us in New Jersey at 6:30.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay. Well, there are no other questions or comments. We'll again thank His Grace Caitanya Charan Prabhu. Wonderful class. Actually, we were supposed to be here in person today, giving us class, but this is the course correction we had to make and make the best of it. But this was also very nice. And we hope that, if this situation continues for a prolonged period of time, you'll be able to come and share some more enlightenment and knowledge with us all on this group. We're having these classes every day. I think it's providing us nourishment in these times of difficult association. And we're very grateful to have speakers like yourself and others who are making themselves available for us. So thank you again for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Remaining devotees, again, we will continue tomorrow with His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj with our reading of Bhagavatam. Then Tuesday we have His Holiness Bhakti Mark Swami. And Wednesday and Friday again we'll continue with Jayadvaita Maharaj. And then Thursday we will have His Holiness Lokanath Swami. And then next Saturday, we will have His Grace Radhikaraman Prabhu. So please join us every day. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock again, we'll continue our virtual Sangha. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.